How are you? Welcome, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the City of Annapolis Board of Appeals regular meeting for September 2nd, 2025. Meetings being broadcast on the City of Annapolis YouTube channel. The agenda for tonight's meeting may be found on the City of Annapolis website. The agenda contains a number of useful bits of information that you might be interested in. A link to the YouTube channel, a link to the form that you need to file if you want to file comments in a case before us, and also links to the database that contains information about the cases that will be before us tonight. Let me remind everyone before we start that communication with the board about any case by anyone other than a party to the case must go through the comment form on the website. All communications by parties to the case must go through the board liaison, Kim Consoli, in the Department of Planning and Zoning. No one should ever contact a member of the board directly about a case that's pending before the board. So we'll begin with the roll call, if you would, Ms. Consoli.
Mr. Gallagher?
Yes.
Dr. Chen? Mr. Hector?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Present.
Mr. Ramsden? Sir, we do not have Mr. Zazali this evening.
That's fine. We have a quorum, so we'll move ahead. Have the members of the board had a chance to review the agenda? Are there any additions or corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We also have draft minutes for our approval. That would be for July 1st. Is that right, Kim? Any corrections or additions to the draft minutes?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, let's get on with real business. The first case tonight is variance 2025-05 relating to 1207 McGookian Street. It's a variance application by the owner for reduction to the required established front yard setback, average ridge and rear yard setback to allow construction of a new single-family house. This is a revision to a previously approved variance, VAR 2024-09. It's a modification of the proposed dwelling's roof from flat to gabled. All right, so Mr. Meekins, would you like to tell us what's going on here?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chair and board members. Mr. Chair, you basically summarized what I was going to summarize. This is a variance that was heard, a revision to a variance that was heard back in October of 24. The applicant has changed the roof design from a flat roof to a sloped or pitched roof. So we've brought this back before the board. All of the original asks for the previously approved variance are the same front yard setback, ridge height, and rear yard setback. There is no change other than the roof structure itself. And I might add that the intent and the design of this proposed single-family house takes into account a large silver maple on the property, and the applicant is choosing and trying to save that with the design of the house.
I remember that from the earlier.
Yeah. Just to go one step further, it's a design that is intended for the applicant and his family to age in place.
Interesting concept for someone my age.
So with that, I will turn it over to the applicant, or if the board has any questions.
Notice and posting has been accomplished to your satisfaction.
Yeah, thank you. Mailing notifications went out in a timely manner. Posting of the property was done for 15 days, and advertisement was put in the Capital newspaper.
Public comments?
No public comments.
And the conditions would remain the same?
Conditions were made the same. I didn't write in my condition for a grading permit, which is a requirement for new construction in the city. But I do have it in a building permit, but those kind of go hand in hand.
All right, would the applicant care to be heard? Would you like to introduce yourself first?
No. Sorry. Jay Hewitt. I'm the architect and the single member of the LLC that owns the lot.
And your address, sir?
103 McHenry Avenue, Annapolis, Maryland.
Do you affirm that the subject to penalties for perjury, that the evidence you give tonight will be true to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, I do.
All right. What would you like to tell us that we don't already know?
I don't think there's anything you don't already know. So I suppose I would just open it up for questions if you, I mean, like Mike said, nothing has really changed with what we're asking. It's really just a design change in terms of the roof line.
Questions from the board? Council, have any questions? All right. Thank you, Mr. Hewitt. We'll close the record. And I think because of the nature of the agenda tonight, I would suggest that we deliberate on the items as they come up. That would allow these folks to be released from the torture of spending another 2 hours, 3 hours here. All right. Michael, as the next senior person, it would be your privilege to start if you'd like.
Mr. Chairman, I won't extend the process. I find that the initial approval was appropriate, and I think that, as noted in the staff report, that the changes here are certainly within reasonable bounds. So I just adding the grading permit to the conditions in the staff report. I'd probably be I would be in favor of.
Any other discussion? Mr. Hanson? Would you like to make a motion, Mr. Wall?
I'd be honored. So I'll make sure I have it right. So on the matter of variance 2025-00005, I move that the application be approved, special exception application be approved in accordance based on the preponderance of the evidence as presented, and that conditions as required in the staff report in this matter be incorporated into the approval, including a grading permit along with the other permits that are required by federal, state, county, or city permit.
All in favor? Thank you very much. Unanimous?
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, the next case will be special exception 2025-04. Special exception application by 408 4th Street LLC to allow seasonal outdoor dining in the existing parking lot. The special exception is required under a new city ordinance. The ordinance was 01024, and it now appears in Title VII of the code. Anyone who doesn't know what 408 4th Street LLC is, it's the Boatyard Bar and Grill. This is the first application to come before the board seeking a special exception to use a private parking lot for seasonal dining. The ordinance created a new code section which deals with that and sets out the criteria that has to be met. Ms. Burke, would you like to introduce your recommendation?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you said, this is for the special exception for the outdoor dining for the Boatyard. They are proposing to put a 60-foot by 40-foot tent in their existing parking lot, which they have done for the last 5 years. So it will be the same status quo, for lack of a better term, that they have been doing that has been allowed since COVID. This will hold up to 60 patrons underneath that tent, and 9 parking spaces will be utilized. And part of the requirements that the city has asked is that they make still available their handicap space in their parking lot. So they're still leaving that available, and they are providing temporary matting so that the handicap space will also have access to one table in the outdoor dining area because their lot is gravel. And we have received, as I forwarded to you, over 26 emails, all in favor of this.
I read them. It's
And
like a cult.
yeah, and a note to those comments is the majority of those were either adjacent property owners or nearby neighbors. So it's not like people that don't live in that general area. I think there was only one woman that didn't live in that general area, and she worked there. So it was all the surrounding neighbors that support this. So the city recommends approval of this with the conditions that we noted. Oh, and the other thing was that we did also make sure, as part of the outdoor dining, that there is adequate facilities, like bathrooms, for both indoor and outdoor combined, which he has also met.
Right. I noted that in your report. Notice and posting have been satisfied.
Yes, and the mailings also.
And I think you said this is exactly the way the property's been operated since COVID.
Right, like the pictures that they show with their
The
exhibits show the
provisional.
screening and everything that they have been previously doing.
Okay. All right, so we'd like to give the applicant an opportunity to be heard on this. I just remind you, Mr. Christoph knows this, that we've read everything you've submitted, familiar with the case. You don't need to spend a lot of time going over information you've already provided to us. And I note that we have some experts here. Generally, the board doesn't concern itself with expert testimony, especially when the testimony purports to tell the board how to apply the law. That's the board's job. The applicant's job is to lay out the facts, and the board will decide. So with that in mind, Mr. Christoph will proceed whichever way you'd like.
Mr. Chairman, I would just note for the record that the 2 gentlemen to my right are not experts in anything.
I disagree. I disagree.
Crab cakes.
That muffaletta sandwich that expert makes, that sandwich.
To introduce them more formally, to my immediate right is Dick Franyo, who is a controlling member and majority stockholder in the entities which are the applicants for the special exception. To his right, Kevin Schendel, who's the general manager of the boatyard and has been for 21 years. And then to my left, John Harrison, recognized by this board on many occasions as an expert in expert planning and land use. We have submitted into the record an affidavit of August 16, 2025, noting that noticed all parties with a financial interest were notified. An affidavit that the property has been posted continuously since 8/18/25 with 2 signs, one at the front corner, one facing 6th Street and one facing 7th Avenue, and a copy of the notice of hearing published in the Capitol on August 18, 2025. I would call Mr. Franyo as my first witness, and if the board is agreeable, I would attempt to proffer his testimony. I know you have a busy agenda after us. Or would you rather hear directly from him?
If you can elicit it through Mr. Franyo, if you can do so briefly, that would be fine.
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
If you would like to do it briefly through Mr. Franyo, that's fine.
I'll try to be brief.
So anyone who plans to testify, one of the 3 of you, do you affirm that any subject to penalty of perjury, that any evidence you give tonight will be true to the best of your knowledge?
I do.
Thank you. Okay. All right, Mr.
Briefly
Franyo.
then, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Franyo would indicate he's a controlling member of 408 4th Street LLC, the owner of the property, and he's also the majority stockholder in 90 Miles from Cuba, Inc., trading as the Boatyard. The application seeks to formalize approval for the same format, the same tent, the same table, seat, and service, which has existed on the site for 6 years now. The area in question is the gravel parking lot in front of the existing boatyard containing 10 parking spaces. Use will consist of a 60 by 40-foot canvas tent with 15 four-top dining tables and chairs to accommodate 60 patrons for outdoor dining. One of those tables will be maintained for handicapped patrons and will be accessible by wheelchair-friendly mat from the gravel parking area fronting on 4th Street. And we have given you a photo, and I've submitted in the record a photograph showing that mat, as well as a bike rack, which will come up in just a second. Hours of operation will be restricted from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 10:30 Friday, Saturday, and Sunday preceding city holidays. Alcoholic beverages served only in conjunction with food service. Noise mitigating measures are provided by the Boatyard Restaurant building to the immediate south, the 2 residences to the west, as well as a permanent canvas screen on the west side of the tent. To the north across Severn Avenue is the elevated substantial parking lot of Annapolis City Marina, which buffers marina uses from any potential from this site. Off-street parking on Severn Avenue and the large evergreen tree at the northeast corner of the site buffer the 3 townhouses of the Tecumseh from potential noise impact. 4th Street, Lunace's, and the parking lot next to it are buffered by 4th Street and the distance between 4th Street and the proposed use. Mr. Frania would also note that the tents serve to attenuate and often soften noise. Large water barrels which anchor the tent, large planters in the sidewall on the west side will further reduce potential for impact. Lighting is provided by strings of lights around the periphery of the tent and across the center of the tent. They're shielded by the 12-inch flap on the tent. Furniture is limited, as I've said, to the 15 four-top tables and 60 chairs. The area within the tent and surrounding area will be policed nightly, and adjoining sidewalks and streets will be monitored regularly. The applicant will apply for a seasonal parking lot dining permit for 9 months and specify the months requested when that application is submitted. Information required by 735-040B3 has been submitted. Temporary structure permit will be obtained for the tent. Drop-off and pick-up areas for vehicles designated within the gravel area facing 4th Street. There's a picture of that, which again has been submitted, and I understand from Ms. Burke is a part of the record. There's a bike and scooter rack provided and also a picture of that. Notice is posted on the tent on transportation and parking alternatives. Additionally, there are 10 spaces available in the rear of the site and across the street at the Annapolis City Marina. I'll just ask Mr. Frania if he concurs in my testimony and whether he has anything additional to add.
I do and I don't. I do concur and I don't add it.
Thank you.
We'd call Mr. Harrison as our next witness, and I won't attempt to summarize his testimony. I'll let him do that by himself.
Thank you, Mr. Christoph. Mr. Chairman, this application really needs to satisfy, in terms of zoning, 3 different aspects of the code. The B2 Community Shopping District with Office Commercial Design Overlay, 2164-300, which are standards for operations of food service, and 2164-540, which are standards for operating a restaurant. Now, Mr. Christoph went over most of the operational issues for the restaurant that would be covered in 2164-300 and 540, so I won't do that for you this evening, as much as you may want to hear it.
Thank you.
The 2126-050 are the review criteria and findings that you must make in order to approve a special exception. There are general standards and are standards specific to restaurants. I can tell you that I have reviewed all those criteria and findings in light of this particular proposal, and I find that it does meet all the requirements. I can go into detail on each one of them if you'd like. I'd also want to note that you have a memorandum from Mr. Lashinsky in the planning department, who's the comprehensive planner who talks about how this particular application meets the Annapolis Comprehensive Plan. I'll note that there are no specific recommendations for this site in the comprehensive plan, but there are general policies in the comprehensive plan that were referenced in Mr. Lashinsky's memorandum that support what Mr. Franio is trying to do with this particular property. And I'd further like to note that this has been in operation for basically 5 years. The ordinance 010 that establishes the right to parking lot dining, sidewalk cafes, on-street dining, et cetera, actually makes it a little bit more restrictive. It limits the hours to 10, whereas right now these operations can go to 11. That ordinance for Friday and Saturday, you get to go to 10:30. Once again, I'll just say that all of the standards, the general standards for special exceptions and the specific standards for operating restaurants have been met. And I'll also say that in terms of operational issues, there's going to be no changes really in the operation of this business. It's going to be the same kitchen, same mechanical equipment, same method of trash disposal. Everything stays the same. The only thing that's different is that there will be dining out in the parking lot under a tent. And with that, Mr. Christoph, unless you want me to go into more detail, I'll end my presentation.
I have no additional questions, Mr. Chairman, for Mr. Harrison, unless the board would like to hear from him as to any of the particular uses which he alluded to.
Questions from the board? For Mr. Franio or Mr. Christoph or Mr. Harrison? Yeah.
It's being restricted to 9 months. It's considered a temporary use, and
It's seasonal.
Still 9.
I'd refer to Mr. Franio for that.
Or is it like weather dependent?
The question is how many months a
Right.
year?
We've been operating under the temporary COVID. This is our 6th year. And we've been operating from April 1 till November 1.
And that's what you continue to
Currently, we're probably earlier, a bit earlier, and maybe a couple weeks after that. It seems to be the climate seems to be getting warmer each year.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, Mr. Franio, I think you guys have the best crab cakes in Annapolis.
Wow.
Thank you.
I'm just going to put that out there. Kim, I just had a quick question. I'm not sure if I heard you correctly with regard to the 9 parking spaces. Did you mention those?
Yeah, so that's where the tent is going to be, which is why it's a parking,
Okay,
it's
gotcha.
the outdoor dining in the parking lot, which
Gotcha.
is the outdoor dining that requires the special exception.
Gotcha. Thank you. So, Mr. Chairman, this is our first venture under 70-35-030. It's the code for this outdoor dining. And in reviewing that code, there is a provision that does state that Title 21, all of the requirements under Title 21 need to be met. And so my question to Mr. Christoph, because I see in your letter, and I was a little bit confused because you referenced 735.040.A.3 and I couldn't find that provision. But you're asking for a 100% waiver, and you present to us a series of mitigating.
I believe that reference is a mistaken reference, Madam Chen. It's a typo, and this was done back in June, and I think the correct section is the one that is listed or was referenced by Mr. Harrison.
Okay, well, that's fine. Then below that, you offer up mitigating factors to help. And so my question to both Ms. Burke as well as yourself is, what do we do with 2166-030? We have a request to waive the 9 parking spaces, which presumably went to the number of seats in Boatyard previously. And now we're adding 60 more seats. And so I'm just trying to understand in terms of Title 21 and this new law, what is happening with the parking requirement.
You want that or me?
Madam Chen, obviously we will have to meet the parking requirements in order to get the certificate of use. Currently, the Boatyard has a credit based on uses that existed prior to 1970. It's not certain at this point in time, and we intend to meet with staff to determine exactly whether it would be necessary to utilize those surplus places or whether we can pay the fee in lieu. Either way, there will be adequate spaces provided either by credit or by payment of the fee in lieu.
Ms. Burke, how many parking spaces would be needed, adding everything, all the seats together?
So that is something that will, like Mr. Christoph said, that equation will be worked out at the time of the permit. I mean, the premise of the outdoor dining is putting it in the parking lot, and the spaces that you lose, you pay a fee per month per each space. So that's what's built into the ordinance.
Is that in the code? I didn't see
I think
it.
it's in the ordinance.
I didn't see it in the code.
And I don't have the dollar amount off the top of my head because we hadn't worked out if there's a surplus of spots, that credit will go to them.
Mm-hmm. So
So the number of spots that you're taking away because of your outdoor dining, that is the rent you pay for those spots. And they pay that fee. I think the city wants it in a lump sum, but it'll be whatever that number is, and they'll have to pay the 9 months upfront.
Okay. I think it would be helpful because I read, did any of the other board members see?
I saw that, yeah.
Oh, you did see
Yeah.
it? Okay, I apologize. Okay,
I forget what the number is, but it's so many dollars per month, depending on how many spots you.
okay, got it. And so you are confident with the credit that Mr. Christoph mentioned, plus the fee in lieu of that things can be handled?
Yes, and that's why I didn't put a specific dollar amount in the condition, just that those conditions had to be satisfied prior to him getting the temporary tent
Okay.
permit.
Great, thank you so much.
Are we referring to what you have in for your 9th condition? Is that what we're talking about? The parking lot fee of $160 per space per month must be paid part of the issuance of any permit?
And that goes into
In 9, condition 9.
Condition 9.
that goes into a transport fund or something like that.
Yeah. But is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, if I put the dollar amount per space per month,
So
yes.
that's
There's
it.
also a separate fee, which is like a capital facilities fee that they pay one time, which is a separate fee.
And that's the lump sum you referred to?
That's a totally that's a lump sum
Okay.
fee. So there's 2 separate fees they pay. They
Okay.
pay a one-time fee that they don't have to renew each year. That's a capital facility that our building section deals with. And then there's the rental that they will pay each month, each year they operate this.
Questions? Other questions from the board? Council?
No question.
I'm fine. All right, if there are no more questions, I think we've read all of the public testimony. Is there anyone who feels like they need to comment this evening? All right. Mr. Conlon, did you sign up on the website? Yeah, things change, but we'll give you 2 minutes.
Good evening, thank you.
Yes.
Good evening, my name is Jim Conlon with 413 Chester Academy. I'm here tonight to support the boatyard bar throughout the beach outdoor dining department. Based my support on the outstanding performance of the boatyard bar and grill during the last 5 years covering under the resolution. The last 5 years. Should I start over or continue? Okay. The last 5 years is referenced in the city staff report and the applicant's request. To the best of my knowledge, the boatyard did not have any complaints or issues with noise during the last 5 years. Also had an approved event permit for all special events. All patrons were seated in the area. Only provided food and alcohol beverage by a waiter serving patrons sitting in tables. Provided an off-street handicap parking space. Did not exceed the approved number of outdoor seats. Provided on-site parking for patrons. Did not have any alcohol beverage violations. Designated and posted an drop-off and pickup point. Clearly, the boatyard adequately addressed any potential issues during the last 5 years. In addition, to support the application approval, I ask that you tonight consider conditions for this application, all Board of Appeals outdoor dining in a parking lot. Your review of special exception applications is designed to address adverse impacts and minimize them where possible. The Board of Appeals may stipulate conditions and restrictions upon establishment. I suggest the following. All patrons in outdoor parking lot dining areas must be seated. Food and beverage alcohol shall be provided by a server only to patrons seated at the tables located within the outdoor dining area. Noise mitigation must exceed just providing trees and shrubs when, if necessary, reasonable to assume additional mitigation action is necessary. That doesn't apply here. Handicap parking space must be provided. Things to consider in your conditions of approval going forward with approval of outdoor dining and parking lots. In closing, I would like to address and point out on record an issue in the Comp Plan 2040 related to outdoor dining and parking lots. Compliance with the Comp Plan is one of the criteria used by the city staff to support or not support an application. However, what the city staff does not address in the Eastport parking is in support of the special exception. For example, the Comp Plan recommended action matrix consolidates all the goals, the performance measures, and recommendations into straightforward charts to aid in the implementation. On page 421, the Comp Plan 42040 recommended action matrix states, leverage parking districts in the city's most walkable commercial areas, including expansion of existing downtown parking districts and implementation of a new parking district for Eastport as a way to manage eliminating parking resources and mitigating conflicts. Thank you for the opportunity to provide comments, and I am looking forward to providing comments on the next Eastport Dining in a parking lot Board of Appeals special exception public hearing. One additional comment, which was very good, and I did not realize this, but one would assume, since you're giving up parking spaces, that the seats would be moved from inside, outside, into the outdoor parking area. What is happening here is that you're paying for seats that are required for current requirements, and you're adding 60 more seats. Just something to consider. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Conlon.
Okay. My name is James Conlon. I live at 413 Chesapeake Avenue, Annapolis, Maryland. Thank you.
Mr. Thorpe?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the Board of Appeals. My name is Frank Thorpe. I live at 94 Quarter Landing Road in Eastport, 21403. I'm here to testify in support of Boatyard Special Exception application to allow seasonable outdoor dining. I would like to commend the Planning and Zoning Department and City Council for their effort to provide this framework. Outdoor dining has been a positive addition to Eastport. I stand here tonight in support of Boatyard's request because of the tremendous asset that the restaurant provides. Boatyard has developed a track record of conforming to the rules. It looks appropriate, it does not disturb the community, it is clean, and it makes our community better. These are the 5 most important features that we ask. I strongly recommend this application be granted. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Mary Greeley, and I'm serve as president of the Tecumseh Council of Co-Owners. Tecumseh is a condominium that's located at 312 Severn Avenue, which is catty corner to the Boatyard Bar and Grill.
I think you submitted a written comment. Did you
I
not?
did. Is
Right,
that
Is
sufficient?
there something you'd like to add to that?
No, if you're fine with that.
We're fine with that. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Mike Tomasini. I'm an Eastport resident at 212 Eastern Avenue and a small business owner down the street from Mr. Fanyo's business at 311 3rd Street. Speaking tonight, I did submit written comments. Speaking tonight on a separate note, during COVID, when all of this started and we were moving seats into parking lots and into the streets, the Eastport Business Association, of which I serve as president, was tasked with coming up with a framework and rules and parameters and how it would be handled. And I can tell you that the reason that Dick is so highly regarded in the community is because he wanted to establish a set of rules that would keep things on a level thing. He didn't want it to get out of hand. He didn't want people drinking in the streets. He didn't want people spilling out of bars at 2 o'clock in the morning. So we worked together on how we would submit permits to planning and zoning. And Dick was one of the people right up in the front saying, you know, we have to minimize our impact on the community. So if that's any hint at how they'll operate in the future, please take that under consideration.
Thank you, Mike. All right. Any other questions? Are we ready to deliberate? Michael?
Mr. Chairman, after reviewing the filings, Mr. Kristoff's filings, and as well as Ms. Burke's staff recommendations and her analysis, I find that the proposed special exception to make seasonal parking consistent with the new ordinance, properly put. Also, it's seems to follow the 2025 Annapolis Comprehensive Plan as it was intended to be followed. So, based on the testimony, I'd be in favor of the special exception with the conditions provided for by the staff Department of Planning and Zoning.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I like the addition of suggestions in Mr. Kristoff's document, such as parking for bikes and so on. If planning and zoning would consider including these in the conditions, since the applicant is willing already to include them.
I mean, I think you're allowed to make that condition if you'd like also.
That I would
Okay.
ask for that.
Mr. Hector?
No, sir.
Mr. Rand? Yeah, for conditions, Kim and council, in special exceptions for the last year or so, the board has been adding a fairly new condition that I refer to as an enforcement condition. There have been so many people complaining that conditions aren't adequately enforced by the city. So we've been putting a condition in special exceptions that just sets up a process. If people, if anyone thinks conditions have been violated, there's a process for them to complain to planning and zoning. And planning and zoning can either deal with it or not. And if the complainant doesn't like the way planning and zoning has dealt with it, they can come back to the board. So we would recommend we conclude that in this one as well. With that, I think, yeah, I think I agree with Mr. Walsh and Dr. Chen. I think this is a solid application. I think we're doing exactly what the council intended us to do. And so is there a motion?
Yes. I move to approve special exception 2025-00004 based on the testimony given today and the agreement to include certain conditions as set forth in the documents presented to us.
And the enforcement condition.
Second.
Oh, and the enforcement condition.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you very much. Congratulations. Nice to see you all.
And you really do make the best crab cakes.
And the breakfast is good too.
All right, the next case is special exception 2024-010. Application by O2 Rec Center LLC for revision to the previously approved special exception 2016-03 in order to construct an additional condo dwelling unit above the existing garage. Before we launch into this, I think Mr. Ramsden has some disclosure he'd like to make.
Yes. So I just want to disclose for the purposes of the board's awareness that my wife was a former federal employee who accepted a buyout offer. Is still currently operating under that condition. And while she is being paid by the federal government, she is conducting a few exploratory internships with different law firms to determine the next area of law she'd like to practice. And one of the areas of law she's considering is land use. And so she has in the past conducted a land use law internship with Dales Associates. She has not conducted any, she doesn't have the ability at this point to have any, to really make any decision making or weigh in on deliberations regarding land use. It's purely an exposure opportunity, and she has not conducted any work on this case beyond administrative postings, beyond anything beyond that.
She was not paid.
Correct.
And that relationship is now concluded?
It is undefined. She has not agreed to an employment, has not signed an employment agreement.
Any parties have any concerns about the disclosures made by Mr. Ramsden? All right. So appearances, Ms. Burke for the city, Mr. Dales, Mr. Lyman. All right. So this was continued from July 1st to give the parties an opportunity to make their arguments concerning the capacity of the applicant under the code to proceed with the application. And at Mr. Dale's suggestion, we have received very thorough, reasoned brief from Mr. Dales, or from Mr. Hyatt by way of Mr. Dales. We received communications from the director, who reports that he has a legal opinion from the Office of Law that the applicant has standing, and the director again concludes that the applicant has standing. And we received a brief letter from Mr. Lyman's office stating that it wouldn't be inappropriate if the board denied standing. So, if there's no standing, it would be a phenomenal waste of time to go through the presentation of the evidence on the requirements for the special exception. I don't see an easy way to deliberate on that question first. But I thought I might just poll the members of the board. I think I had the most questions on this issue when we were here before, and my focus was on the specific language of the code that refers to specifically enforceable contract arrangement. And the briefs that we've got address that, and we got advice from counsel to the board that also addresses that. And I'm pretty comfortable with that now. So that's where I am. So anyone else think we need to have more argument on that issue?
Not for me. I too had, we shared a lot of the same thoughts back in July 1st, kind of the lack of clarity we're getting
from the Office of Law, right?
Yeah, from the Office of Law on this, and then the question of what the declaration documents had, and then question of enforceability of the previous special exception. Some issues that were still out there, but I do think that the clarity that the director has given us through the Office of Law and our own counsel kind of allays those concerns that we do have the enforcement procedures to enact if we have to.
Dr. Ken? You're good, Mr. Hector? Ramsden? All right, so I hope that gives you some comfort. I don't think we need to hear from your legal experts, which I don't think we would normally hear anyway. So if you'd like to just get down to the case, that you satisfy the requirements for the special exception. And again, Mr. Dales, I know you know that we have read the file. We're very familiar with it. We have some familiarity with the previous proceeding. So if you would, keep that in mind as you make your case.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I hope I've got some track record of hearing you when you say that, and we will keep it as brief as we can on the merits. However, hang on one sec. I appreciate the polling of the board, and it does give me comfort. I just would, as a point of order, ask if that issue is going to be re-raised later to need a vote, then these gentlemen would have to stick around. If not, then if it's not going to be voted on tonight, and if that point of order could be clarified.
I hope we're going to vote on it tonight.
The first issue,
we're going to vote on everything tonight.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I have an alternative to propose. Obviously, if this is going to be voted on later, but you don't feel you have time to deliberate on it tonight, I would just tell you that these gentlemen, as you know, did come as witnesses with special knowledge on the field of law of transactions and condominium law. We felt as though that your Rule 6.5A, which allows engineers and architects to testify, would have equally allowed them to testify, so long as we didn't ask them to be qualified as an expert under 6.5B. I'm happy to let them go, but if this is going to be voted on later and their arguments are necessary, they've come prepared to argue as co-counsel if necessary. So if not accepted under 6.5A.
The board wants to hear is evidence, not argument.
Mr. Chairman, my duty to my client, if the issue later about eligibility is going to be voted on, then the work that these gentlemen have provided on that issue.
Well, keep them here then.
Let me ask my client as well. Yeah, Mr. Chairman, we're comfortable moving forward. Thank you. We'll
Please.
Excuse our proposed witnesses.
Go ahead.
You guys.
Thank you, gentlemen. Sorry to inconvenience you.
Thank
you. And Mr. Hyatt, thank you for your brief. It was elucidating.
Well, thank you.
I can move. Mr. Chairman, we're ready to proceed with evidence as long as the city doesn't have anything to add on the staff report. But I think we ended the last hearing with us about to present evidence if the first threshold issue had been decided. So I just ask you, do you want us to begin with testimony and proffers?
No more boat pictures.
You want to pull that up? So, yeah, but they can't see that. So,
See it over there.
okay. My first witness will be Mr. Leo Wilson. Yeah, we're going to need to. I'll go do it right now.
All right, well, any of the prospective witnesses, do you affirm, subject to penalties for perjury, that the evidence you give tonight will be true to the best of your knowledge?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, but she already. Okay, so Mr. Wilson, could you just give your history regard to this project, practice in the city, and the application before the board tonight?
Sure. My name's Leo Wilson. I'm with Hammond Wilson Architects. I'm the senior principal there. And I've been involved with this project since its inception, once the city decided to sell the property to a private owner. We're involved in the initial design and the initial site design plan review application that dates back to the start of the project. I'm a practicing architect here in Annapolis, licensed in the state of Maryland, and have been practicing for about 34 years.
So you understand the criteria for in the city code for special exceptions after all that experience, do you not?
I believe that I do, yes.
Okay, and then for this case, you prepared drawings and various other illustrations and perspectives to show the staff to urge the staff to recommend approval of this project, correct?
That's correct.
And you have a presentation from those materials here on the laptop that I have actually had. Mike Meekins has been kind enough to distribute for us. So do you want to begin with that project that presentation by describing the condominium unit in general terms?
I will. I'll just walk through the presentation in deference to the chair.
You're going to go through every page of this?
Quickly as possible. It won't take me very long.
What in here is different from the drawings that you provided us before?
Nothing.
We've seen it then.
But it hasn't been described in terms of what it contains. It's a series of images, but the verbiage is important to understand what that package is intended to tell you. It will be very quick.
All right.
Chairman, I can answer the question. I think what's in there is shown with different perspectives that have been shared with staff but have not previously been shown to the board. They're part of the record. So Mr. Wilson's description of them, which I know he could do very quickly because he did the presentation for us, will be meaningful to the board, I believe.
We'll see.
Okay, it's a high bar. Existing facility, you can see it here. This dates back to, I think, sometime in the 30s. The site plan here shows the shaded area, which includes the existing covered parking area that's adjacent to the original structure. Photographs of it as it sits today. This is after the improvements for the use as condominiums. Here's a photograph that shows the garage that was approved initially. One-story structure set up with a flat roof with the potential to provide space for expansion of 2 units. Close up of it. All of this was through the Historic Preservation Commission. We were asked to look at view corridors to try and keep the building from overwhelming the adjacent properties and to be contextual with the rest of the facilities in the area. This is the timeline. This is in your package as well. We've been through a pre-application presentation, and you can read through all of the different iterations we went through to try and make sure we were developing project consistent with the concerns of both the city and our current owners and the neighbors. Floor plans, these are initial ones that showed one set of units that was 2 stories. We tried to do a 2-story unit here. Went through a process with the city and historic preservation. In the end, they'd elected to ask us to come back with a different unit. So we came back with another 2-story unit that was smaller. This was another iteration that went through historic preservation review. Again, trying to cascade it back to reduce the scale. Again, we were asked to come back and after that to do an analysis of the context. So this was all at the request of Tom Smith when he was a chair or chief of current zoning. So these were components of that. And then we came back with another unit, and this is closer to what we have today. A 1-story unit here. Well, this was actually a smaller 2. So this is what we landed on. Now, it's important because you can see that we went from 2 units to 1 unit, and our original application was for 9 units. Now we're at 8 units, and we anticipated the 9, but we didn't know how to configure them. So in our original application, we did not have unit layouts. We just had massing. So this gives you a better sense of how that works. The idea was that the cornice level would align with about the cornice level of the 2-story component of the existing structure. The second floor was pulled back so that it was less visible from the street. The green roof, which is part of a requirement of the original application, is lifted up so it occurs on the upper level of the second floor. Subsequent to all of those things, we went on the roof with planning and zoning and historic preservation, and they asked us to make some different changes. The changes included changing the facade along the front elevation so that it wasn't flat, to provide some space along the side on the roof. And then finally, we elected to push back in the area that faced our neighbor off to the side here. We removed the windows that could possibly impact this owner and changed the window patterns so that they showed only into our own property. We also removed windows that could have affected our neighbor at the top of the page. Okay. So this is what it ends up looking like. You can see that the windows on the side were raised up in deference to our neighbor. And you can see that the area that faces our neighbor that's behind the building, you can see we removed the windows except for the tall ones where we can't see out. They just provide light into the space and not views into the neighbor's rooftop deck. So I don't think I need to spend too much time on these drawings. These are just additional documents that show that all of the criteria that go along with the site design plan review modification have been addressed. Is that fast enough?
Mr. Wilson, there's one, I was checking questions off as you went through, and I think you did everything without prompting you at all. Just one other question I had for you is, what's your opinion about the effect of this unit on the public space across the street, particularly the park and other public areas?
Well, the intent here was to provide outdoor space for the enjoyment of the unit owner 8, but also we felt that providing...
Just to repeat my question, because I believe it didn't get caught by the microphone for the record. I was asking Mr. Wilson about your opinion on the effect of this unit on your neighbor that's the public space across the street, particularly the park and other small public areas.
Yeah, so again, it's set back quite a distance from the facilities across the street, the park, but we did feel that having the ability to have someone who can look into the park for not just during the business day, but in the evening and weekends, would help provide another set of eyes on it and help to activate Newman Street a little bit, because most of our unit owners face the other sides. So we thought the added unit provided an enhancement to the safety of that area.
I think that's what I was asking. It's that concept of eyes is linked to me with public safety and social engagement in those spaces. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
And I just wanted to add this one. Again, we made adjustments to all of the facades in deference to our neighbors to try and make sure that we were being responsive to potential concerns they may have. And again, this was all decided with a rooftop walkthrough with, at one point, it was Jackie Rouse, who worked for the city, Tom Smith, and John Tower all walked through when they entered their agreements with what we had done.
And one final question, it's a very quick one. The original unit was at or below bulk regulations, and the final proposed unit is significantly below the allowable bulk regulations. Is that right?
That's correct. We were within the box that the zoning boundaries would require with the two-story unit, but then you get into the subjective nature of how the code is set up, especially in the historic district, not dissimilar from the R2NC and all site design plan review, where while you may be within that box, there are other things the city can ask you to do to be a better neighbor or to avoid negative impact. And so these are the results of those discussions over several years with the city and the neighbors.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Part of your package, and my name is Brian Lyman. I represent the unit owners at 99 Compromise Street, the board of directors. Mr. Wilson, your package contains two versions of the residential units that you proposed over time. Is that correct?
I think it's actually three. Two larger ones for 3 stories and then one for the 1 story, 1 level.
Okay. And again, this may be getting into a standing question a little bit more, but Can you describe what is specifically enforceable from the declarations that matches with any of these three versions of the plan?
I don't really know how to talk to declarations because I'm not an attorney. I just do the design work.
Sure.
So and my job is to make it look the way the people tell me to look.
But you've had three different versions of what would be built on top of this garage over however many years it's been you've been working on this project, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and the interior square footage of those three designs varies significantly, doesn't it?
It does. It's been reduced each of the times
Okay.
just because of the reduction in the number of floors.
Sure. And what's the square footage of the proposed residential unit 8 now, approximately?
Gosh, you know, I don't have that at the tip of my tongue. Yeah, we think it's about 2,700 square feet.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any further questions.
No, to redirect, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Next witness was going to be Mr. Robert McCarthy. Bob's already sworn in, so.
My name is Robert McCarthy. I'm a civil engineer with Drummond and Associates, 1410 Forest Drive, Suite 35, Annapolis, Maryland, 21403.
Mr. McCarthy, you're a civil engineer by profession, correct?
Correct. I'm a professional engineer licensed in the state of Maryland.
And what's your experience practicing in the city of Annapolis?
I've been doing this for about 30 years, and I've prepared the drawings that were with this original plan as well as these updated.
For clarification, that is, you've worked on this project both for the original application approved in 2016 and for the proposed modifications that we're here for tonight.
That's
Is that
correct.
Thank
Yes.
you. All right, and could you propose the civil engineering or site design elements of the application, bearing in mind that we have provided a justification statement and drawings? I think just the high points of the civil engineering elements of the changes from the original unit to what's being proposed now.
Yeah, basically from a site plan perspective, the changes are very minimal. The proposed unit is on top of an existing building, so there's no impact to the ground. There's no disturbance of earth to put that in. There's no expansion of the footprint. We are putting in a small stormwater management device in the corner closest to Compromise Street. And there's an existing planter box in that location already. And so it just involves retrofitting that with a profile of a stormwater device with under drains and over drains. And that's due to some additional impervious area that was required during construction to put a sidewalk connection from the building to Compromise Street. And the green roof that was proposed in the previously approved plan stays and is actually slightly larger in area than what was on the originally approved plan. So we've still got the full green roof.
Just for clarification, that additional impervious surface that was constructed that wasn't a part of the approval before this board in 2016 was required by the city post special exception approval. Is that right?
That's right. It was required during construction by the fire marshal for access directly because the address of the building is on Compromise Street. So they needed a sidewalk that connected directly to Compromise Street.
Now, because of that existing impervious, you've proposed changing what is not currently a stormwater management device, but rather a planter box into a stormwater management device because that city requirement has made that necessary. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And that's, in your view, given all the circumstances surrounding this site, the only feasible location for that stormwater device. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay, and at the initial hearing, there was some suggestion of citations or enforcement against this project from DPW at an interim phase of construction. It's not true. There have been no citations issued by DPW to this project, to your knowledge. Is that correct?
Correct. To my knowledge, there's been no citation.
And your firm generally was handling that aspect of this project even after the approval of the original special exception. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's it, Mr. McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. You'd agree with me that the stormwater management device that's going to be located on the corner of the building is really nowhere near where Unit 8 is going to be installed. Is that fair to say?
Correct. It's on the opposite side of the site.
Okay, and that'll require disturbing the landscaping that's already been installed, correct?
Correct.
Can you describe for the board what the installation process is for that stormwater management device?
It's going to be digging out of the landscape area temporarily to install the profile of the stormwater management device and then putting it back in with plantings at the end. So in the end, it'll probably take 3 days to put in, and it'll still have landscaping. So the aesthetic will be very similar to what's there today.
All right, and how deep is the digging?
I think it's about 3 feet deep. I can check that actually. Oh, right here. Yeah, just under 3 feet deep.
Okay, and that 3-foot area is not shown on any of the recorded plats to date, correct?
Recorded plats?
Correct. Any of the documents that are recorded among the land records do not show the stormwater management feature that you're proposing, correct?
Correct. Typically, stormwater management features are not shown on plats.
Okay. Do you know if any of the particular area where you're proposing this was reserved under the recorded plat for stormwater management adjustment?
Not that I'm aware of.
You don't know anything about the trash bin screening citation that the condominium unit owners received?
I'm not aware of that.
Okay, you don't know about the permit that they had to apply for in order to put in a trash screening area?
I was not involved in the trash.
Okay, but you don't know anything about that, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You know where the trash screening was supposed to be on the original plan that was approved in the original special exception in 2016?
According to my previous plan, there was a trash enclosure proposed adjacent to the parking structure.
It was supposed to be basically right next to the parking structure along that sidewalk, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Do you know if it was installed?
From what I've seen, the trash enclosure appears to be at the other end of that parking lot.
The exterior parking lot closer to Compromise Street, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And that's not where you designed it to be installed, correct?
Your current application does not show the structure or the enclosure adjacent to the garage. We do show some sidewalks and gravel areas and fencing in the area where the trash enclosure is now.
All right. Were you involved in the response to the staff comments about the potential citations violations from Drumloica?
My staff was involved in responding to comments from DPW.
Right, that are included in the staff report, correct, as a condition for the recommendation. Were you involved in that?
I believe.
For clarity on that question, clear which condition council is referring to.
I'm just referring to the incorporated references to the staff comments and about the prior DPW staff report that Drumloica responded to. Were you involved in that?
I was involved with that, and that Jay Lee, who responded to that, works for me as a civil engineer.
Okay. Did you review his responses?
Mr. Chairman, for point of clarification, is council referring to comments on the application that were included to get to the staff report on this application, or comments from staff prior to this application?
I don't know when the comments came in, but the staff report refers to a letter from Drumloika dated May 9th, 2023.
Oh, okay, that is.
So it's, yeah, we responded to comments from DPW regarding current conditions of the site in their review of this current application.
Okay. And in those comments, you're familiar with Drumloika's response that the replacement of the maple trees is no longer an issue because they've been replaced by the Council of Unit Owners. You recall that?
Yes.
And do you have any knowledge of how those maples were replaced or when that happened?
I was not involved in the replacement of the trees.
Okay. Did you do a site inspection, or did Drumloika do a site inspection in order to generate the reply to the comments?
Yeah, a site visit was done, and I believe a meeting with DPW.
Okay, and that would have happened in proximity to, I think this is a email from Ted Shields, April 5th. We're talking spring of 23, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have an opinion on whether the ADA standard is for the ramp is currently in compliance or not?
For which ramp are we talking about?
On the Newman Street side, the comment was that the slope is greater than 8.33%, and Drumloika was to provide confirmation that the ramp meets ADA design standards. Do you have an opinion on that?
My understanding is that it is in compliance with ADA.
Okay, and what do you base that understanding on?
I believe during the site inspection, it was checked with one of the with a smart level. So my understanding is they were talking about the slope going into the garage. It wasn't the actual sidewalk.
Oh, I see. So it's sort of a misinterpretation of the comment that the sidewalk is in compliance, but the ramp into the garage is not.
That was my understanding.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. I don't have any further questions.
Chairman, just a couple of redirect questions for McCarthy. I'd also ask if Mr. Chairman would like me to recall Mr. Wilson all the questions about screening and trash were elements of his design. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, Ms. Clerk. I have a couple of questions on redirect for Mr. McCarthy, but I'd ask the chair if he'd like me to recall Mr. Wilson, since all of the questions about trash screening and location were elements of Mr. Wilson's design that we left out of our what would have been otherwise very, very thorough presentation, including all of those elements. Shall I recall Mr. Wilson on those several issues? Okay, Mr. Chairman, I can address that through several of those issues through redirect to Mr. McCarthy, and the rest of those issues through Mr. O'Hare's testimony.
I'm sorry. Raised by one of the written commenters, Ms. Joanna Sohovit. Did you read that about the? The construction of an alternate water collection tank would impose upon the egress to Unit 2, which opens onto Mary Street, as well as the shared space in front of the entrance. And a plan to install a tank in that area by a non-owner would deprive me of the right to interfere with my use of the common area.
Mr. Chairman, I'll address all the comments that relate to these issues of that are alleged compliance issues between the original construction and the approval we're seeking today to finish construction of a new design, which is what a modification of site design and special exception achieves. I'll do that through a few redirect questions from Mr. McCarthy and then through Mr. O'Hare's direct testimony. I will also say, as a general note, many of these issues relate to building code compliance, and building code compliance is not part of special exception criteria review. Oftentimes, there are minor changes that are needed after you make your approvals for us to change slightly the location of a water tank or a pipe, and those don't affect our approvals from you so long as they don't require major significant changes to the design such that we are still substantially in compliance with the design.
If you don't comply with conditions that we've inserted in a special exception, we want to know why.
Mr. Chairman, many of the issues raised there were not with regard to specific explicit conditions you imposed, but those which were, we will address directly.
Go ahead.
All right, so on redirect for Mr. McCarthy, all of the issues raised in these emails from DPW that were to your employees and to Mr. Shields, as you review them, do you feel that the responses are diligent and compliant such that the ramp is in compliance and that the location of all site design features or site work features will comply with ADA and can comply with ADA and fire code and building code issues requirements? Is that your review?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. And now, Mr. Wilson, in recalling Mr. Wilson, can you please speak to why the location of the trash and screening may have been changed?
After several years of operation of the building, the city came back and said, "Hey, we're not happy because we can see the trash containers outside the building." And so they asked us to go ahead and they asked the unit owners at that time to provide some type of enclosure or screening. So they called my office and said, "What should we do?" So we worked with the city's Office of Public Works and came up with a design after a couple of tries with the Historic Preservation Commission, which also had to approve the enclosure, which they did approve, and we did facilitate the approval and them building it. So, and I think Mr. O'Hare, if I'm not wrong, paid for it. So I think that issue was taken care of. And I just wanted to speak to the list of concerns that were outstanding from the prior application, which showed up again when we came back for the amendment. The city came back and said, "We think there's some things that aren't right over there that we need you to do." So there were a series of meetings with different people from Public Works, Drumloika, and representatives from my office, because we were kind of the clerk of the works of that. So there's a series of emails that my office recorded that said, these are the concerns that Public Works had. These are the resolution of those issues. And only upon the agreement from Public Works that was acceptable were we allowed to proceed with this application. So my understanding is those corrections are either done or they're part of the conditions of approvals in Mrs. Burke's list of things that we're supposed to do in order to move forward. So I think they've all been addressed pretty clearly in the emails and in the record if you go to the city's Track It site.
Mr. Wilson, is it an accurate summary to say some of the staff comments related to issues which were not directly related to any condition imposed by the board, but were required to be fixed for building code or fire code issues or other requirements which are not part of criteria. Other comments from staff may have related to conditions imposed by this board, and still others may have related to new issues that the staff felt could be addressed by changing the design at the building permit stage. Is that an accurate summary?
I believe that it is.
And all the changes your office, working with Drumlick, made were in cooperation and direction of city staff. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And to your knowledge, those have been sufficient to be resolved, with the exception of several conditions which practically cannot be resolved until there is a decision on this application. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Wilson. I'll call Mr. Jim O'Hare at this point.
Hi, I'm Jim O'Hare. I'm at 1 Norwood Road in Annapolis.
Thank you, Mr. Hare. And you're the applicant for this project, or one of the primary members of the LLC that's the applicant for this project, correct?
I'm the applicant and the owner of O2 Rec Center LLC.
And how long have you been in Annapolis and working in Annapolis?
I moved here in 1995.
And just a little about your career background, please, very briefly.
Yeah, I practiced law in Baltimore for 20 years, starting in 1992. And while I was there, I started doing real estate development, primarily in the Fells Point area. And so I gained experience in rehabbing old warehouses into retail and office and residential. So I learned adaptive reuse, rehab techniques, and also the application of historic tax credit. So expanded that over time. When I retired from being a lawyer, I began doing projects in other historic locations, including Annapolis, Lewis, Delaware, and most recently in downtown Frederick, Maryland.
And just because it'll be relevant to some of the city staff sensitivities on this project that were related to their comments, what other preservation work have you done? You mentioned Lewis, but there are several others that you've been involved with.
Well, I've served in Annapolis on the board of Historic Annapolis, and I've been the chairman of the board at HA for the past 2.5 years.
And you also did work in Fells Point in Baltimore and the city of Frederick, right?
Yep, I mentioned that.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry about that.
Yeah.
Okay. And how did you initially become involved with this property and the old rec center?
So the city listed it for sale in 2015. I bid and then was selected by the city council. I closed in, I believe it was late 2015 or early 2016, and then began the entitlement process, which the first step was the application for this special exception.
And in your applications, you use the term adaptive reuse for the residential units you proposed there. So specifically, you proposed 9 adaptive reuse units. Can you talk about what that is, what that concept is, why you proposed it, and why 9 units?
Right. Well, adaptive reuse, basically, you're taking historic structure and rehabbing it and putting it to a new use. So just like it sounds. We chose 9 units in this case, and really with the entitlement process, when we applied for the special exception, we had not planned anything in the interior of the building. We didn't have the unit count. We didn't have details on how the units would be laid out, and we didn't know, for instance, whether or not the city would approve. So the old rec center, I assume you all are familiar with it. It was a basketball gym. And so we didn't know if the city and the HPC would approve a third floor in the volume of the space that was the basketball court, which would require us to add dormers to the roof. So that was part of the HPC process. So what we did is we identified, for purposes of the special exception application, that we would do 9 units as a maximum. And we chose 9 because if you get to 10 units and above in the city, that triggers the requirement that you apply or that you provide MPDUs, and in that project, MPDUs would have made it not viable.
And since I know you've done other projects that do include MPDUs, why specifically, just for the board's knowledge, could that not happen in this location?
Well, because I paid the city a lot of money for the property, and because of the condition of the building after, the original condition of the building was it was a gym. I was converting it to residential. It's going to be very expensive. And the building was built in late 30s, early 40s, and it was in really rough shape.
So is it, in summary, this building and the construction costs associated with made it just non-viable and too expensive to do the MPDUs? Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And in addition to, we're going to try to stay away from some of the declaration questions, but just to walk through this timeline here, we want to address these issues of comments from the city, some of which related to conditions, some of which related to building code or ADA issues. Would you tell the board about the decisions that you made as you came in to prepare for this application that affected, let's start with the green roof.
Sure. So, the green roofs, the green roof is really stormwater management. So I think it was brilliant that somebody called it a green roof, but it's part of the stormwater management system for the project. I have not installed the green roof because I started this process to build an additional unit in 2020. So that was relatively soon after construction had been completed. But I've always planned to put the green roof on. It was a condition of my building permit, and I'm fully committed to doing it. And my commitment is secured. I have a bond in place in favor of the city, and I renew that bond every year.
And so you had a formal application in for this special exception mod and the minor site design plan mod going back to early 2020. Is that correct?
Correct.
And so staff recognized it would have been wasteful to require you to construct the green roof to comply with the condition of that prior approval, where you were accepting that as a condition of any potential modification of this SE and site design.
Yes, the plan was always to install the green roof on top of this unit.
And many of the other changes that have been discussed for minor elements of the site design plan have moved around as a result of the changes to the new green roof and the new location of this new unit. Is that right?
Well, so actually what happened was the city, the fire marshal came in and by the way, the process in Annapolis, if you've done a project like this, is you submit plans and the inspectors come through and they say, well, we don't care what's on the plans, here's what you have to do. And so when we were building, when we were looking to actually get final occupancy on the building, fire marshal came through to do his inspection, and notwithstanding the fact that we had easy access off of Newman Street, he came to us and said, well, you've selected 99 Compromise as your address, so if a fire truck pulls up, I want to have a gate in the fence and a sidewalk where I can roll a stretcher from Compromise Street to your front door, where the front door is on next to the garage on Newman Street. And so we installed that sidewalk, and it resulted in an increase in impervious. And as a result of that, now we need additional stormwater management, which we intend to provide by adding a rain garden in what is now a landscape feature with behind a masonry wall.
Okay, and there's still an open grading permit for this project, and that's what the bond you mentioned is associated with, right?
Correct.
And is it also your statement to this board that you've accepted any proposed conditions that deliver the same requirements as were imposed for the original approval, as you've modified the plans here and have modified the site design plan?
Yeah, I'm not aware of any requirement, condition or otherwise that we have not satisfied. I had a meeting, so I was at the meeting with Bob's firm, Trumloika, and DPW, this meeting came about in response to the application. This was not a review of existing construction. It was a response to our application. DPW was not signing off on our application, so we asked to meet with them, and we physically walked the property, and they said, well, this sidewalk is cracked right here. And by the way, this meeting occurred, I think, my construction was completed in 2019. So this meeting, 2018, I'm sorry. This meeting with DPW occurred in spring of 2023, so it's 4 years later. The DPW officials said, well, there's a cracked sidewalk here, 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 and here. My response was, I didn't crack that sidewalk. I didn't do construction anywhere close to it. And they said, well, we think you're responsible unless you have pictures that show that you're not. So I said, well, how about this? I'll agree to fix the sidewalk as part of the construction of the new unit. And so we went through issue by issue. There were a couple of issues, like a couple of grates that were loose that I agreed to secure, and I had them screwed in. But the other conditions, and I went through the email that Bob referenced, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4 open items that are sidewalk, expansion joints, asphalt on Newman Street at the driveway, and another cracked sidewalk. So those items I agreed to repair. I still maintain, by the way, I didn't destroy any asphalt. That's not my responsibility. It's in the road. But nonetheless, I agreed that I would fix it as part of this process to get them to approve the application on those conditions.
Well, Mr. O'Hare, none of those sidewalk items or comments are related to conditions imposed by this board, to your knowledge, correct?
No.
Right. I mentioned the green roof and asked you about that because it was part of a condition in the prior approval. Is it your view that that simply hasn't completed because it hasn't been completed yet?
Yes.
The green roof will be completed.
Will be.
One way or the other, and there's still a bond for the project, correct?
Correct. I think the bond is in the amount of $80,000 or $90,000, which is more than enough to pay for the installation of that green roof if I were to fail in my responsibility, which I will not.
So, Mr. O'Hare, this is a new subject for this board, but there are 17 conditions recommended in the staff report for this project, and that staff report recommends approval, but there are 2 conditions, namely 10 and 14, that I'd ask you if you could be accepting of 10, which requires the unit owners to provide signed approval for your construction schedule, and condition 14, which requires that you obtain permission from the unit owners to install the necessary stormwater. What is your view? Are you willing to accept those conditions?
Well, let me say this. I have worked, and if you look at my timeline, Leo and I began meeting with the homeowners, I think it was in 2022. We had a series of meetings with the unit owners. We started and continued over the course of a year negotiations on a construction agreement. It had the acronym CAPA. I can't even remember what that stands for, but it was some sort of construction access agreement. And we went through a series of black lines. I continued to maintain that I would work with them to make sure that the construction of the new unit was minimized. And I believe it was late 2023, after more than a year of negotiations, they came to me with Mr. Lyman and said, we don't think you're entitled to build anything, and so we're not going to continue to negotiate with you. I've maintained all along I will continue negotiations under that agreement, and I'll address their concerns. For instance, where the dumpster will be located, or what are the hours of location, hours of construction. I'm sorry. So while I'm willing to entertain an agreement with the unit owners, that can't be a condition because at this point they've indicated they're not going to negotiate with me.
And so those conditions, in your view, would provide a de facto veto for a group that's here to oppose the project. Is that right?
Yes, it would.
And yet, if those conditions required instead that you provide a construction schedule to be approved by the city and a plan for construction of the stormwater device planter box also to be approved by the city, that those conditions 10 and 14 as revised would be acceptable to you. Is that right?
That would be acceptable, absolutely.
Thank you. Mr. O'Hare, is there anything else you'd like to add about your vision for this project or anything that you want the board to know as we close your direct testimony?
Well, generally, I'd like to offer this. Somehow this narrative has taken hold for this project that it's, I was a bad developer somehow. I didn't honor my obligations. I didn't meet conditions, that somehow I wronged the unit owners. And none of that is true. The correct way to see this project is I bought a dilapidated building from the city. I invested millions of dollars in it at a time when, 2015, we can look back on it now and certainly say, if you have an opportunity to develop a project like this where you're selling condos in downtown Annapolis, you would absolutely want to do it. Well, in 2015, we were still in the recovery phase coming out of the financial crisis. And there was no certainty that I could sell those units for a per square foot price that would work. So it was a tremendous risk that I took. And so as I looked at the units, the number of units that I would build, and you could say, well, why didn't you just, in your special exception, plan on building those units above the garage at that time? Well, at that time, we didn't know how many units would fit in the building. I didn't know how many units I could sell, and I didn't know what price they would sell at. And so as we got to a point where we were drawing up the declaration, which was, if you look at the timeline, it was 2016 when we were in for special exception. It was 2018 when we filed the declaration with the Secretary of State. By that time, there was more clarity, and I went to Leo and Phil and I said, the project's looking pretty good. Why don't we, in the declaration, reserve the right to build 2 additional units on the rooftop? And another false narrative that has been created is somehow that the unit owners were not aware of that. It's just not true. So the unit owners each received a copy of the declaration, which has something like 10 times I mentioned the additional unit. In addition to that, I was the salesperson for these units. And so I took every potential unit owner through and I described the project and I told every one of them, you see the garage that's under construction right there? We have a right in the declaration to add 2 units to that. So each one of the unit owners was fully aware, both by contract, the declaration was attached to their contract, and from me presenting to them to the fact that this additional 2 units could be built. So in the end, it's 1 unit. Leo's described that, we've reduced the size. So, I'm looking at developers who are asking for a zoning change so they can get an extra 15 feet. And I've agreed I could build this unit at 22 feet and 32 feet. We've agreed to knock off a floor at the request of planning and zoning and to appease a neighbor who's next door. So that is the true narrative of this project. And that's who I am as a developer.
Sure, because we've been working at this for this application specifically for over 5 years now. Would you say that you're going to be as committed to following the approval and any conditions attached to it as you have been to the prior approval, all the construction you're involved with personally, the sales, and finally be able to deliver on the requirements of the original conditions and close out this project?
Yes, I will build a high-quality unit that will activate what is now a rooftop of a garage.
And you'll comply with all city code requirements, including building code, fire code, ADA, and all requirements imposed as conditions of any approval that might be issued by this board.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Hare.
All right, Mr. Lyman, do you have any cross for Mr. O'Hare?
Yes, and I'll try to keep it as brief as possible. Mr. Hare, you'd agree with me that if you read the declarations, you cannot tell the square footage of the units that you propose to build. Is that correct?
The square footage of any unit was not included originally. It's a part of the as-built process.
Right. So the unit owners, when they reviewed the declarations that they were provided when they bought their units from you, could not look in the declarations and determine what the potential square footage added to the residential condominium would be by reading the declarations, correct?
No.
Why is that incorrect?
Well, because the garage is 60 feet by 60 feet. And if you look at the zoning code defines what can be built. And so I could go to, you can calculate the setbacks, you can calculate the height limit, and that provides an envelope of what is possible.
All right. It provides a possibility, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And within that possibility, it's not specified in the declarations how many square feet are proposed to be added to the condominium, correct?
Well, as evidenced by our process with planning and zoning and HPC, where we took the unit from 3,200 square feet, 2 stories, to 1 story at 2,700 square feet to address comments received from planning and zoning and from to address neighbor concerns. That is correct. It would not be possible to put into the declaration how big that unit would be unless you go through the full planning process first, which is out of order.
All right, very good. What I'm driving at is it's also impossible for those unit owners to calculate the pro rata dilution of their voting rights in the condominium because of that deficiency in the declaration, correct?
It's not a deficiency, and they've agreed that the dilution would occur. They also, by the way, are diluted in the expenses of maintaining the HOA, so there is a benefit to them.
There may be a benefit, but the point is that they can't predict and calculate how much their unit is going to change as far as their voting interest in the condo, correct? Until you go through this entitlement process, right?
Well, but I guess I'm not sure how to answer that question. I think they know they're going to be diluted in terms of voting rights, and they know that the cost that they pay for maintaining the HOA is going to be reduced, but by how much would be determined after the unit is approved through the city process.
All right. And that's what leads me back to my question about if you were to go to court and ask for the current plans to be specifically enforced, to get O2's interest to be specifically enforced, what would you ask the court to enforce that you could build on top of the garage?
I would ask them to enforce the declaration, which is extremely clear that I have a right to build actually an additional 2 units on top of the garage.
All right, and you could build 2 stories, correct?
According to zoning regulation, right. But planning and zoning asked us to reconsider that, yes.
Okay, but according to the declaration, you can't tell if it's going to be 1 unit and 1 story or 2 units and 2 stories, right?
I think that's correct.
Okay. Do you know anything about the 5 maple trees that had to be replaced?
I know that they were not in great health when I bought the property from the city, and I went to the city arborist, and I said to them, mainly because I was concerned about liability, because it occasionally they would drop large branches, and I asked to take them down, and the city arborist declined. But I did everything I could to maintain them, so we had them fertilized, we had them limbed up. So you can see, if you look at some of Leo's pictures after we completed construction, they were looking pretty good.
All right. They subsequently needed to be removed, correct?
I was not part of that process, but I do know that well, when you say they need to be removed, they died, I think is what happened.
They were removed, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And O2 has not paid for that bill, correct?
No, we have not.
Okay. Same thing with the trash enclosure. O2 did not pay for the trash enclosure either, did it?
We offered. We paid for the design. And I do, so I'm glad you asked me about the trash enclosure. I mentioned that city inspectors sometimes will say, I don't care what the design, what the plans say, you do this or that. So our original plan had a trash enclosure along the front walkway into the building up against the garage. The city inspector came to us as we were preparing to install that, and they said, you can't put the trash there, not where everybody's walking by. And I said, okay, how about if we put it over here on the other side of the parking lot? And they said, fine. And I said, we're going to have a wrought iron fence that will protect it so you won't see it from Compromise Street. He said, no problem, go ahead. And based on that, they gave us occupancy. So that's why the trash ended up where it was. I believe it was 2023. So again, 4 years after I completed construction, the city came and cited the owners and said, not that the trash enclosure is in the wrong place. What they said was, you're not compliant because as you drive down Newman Street, you can see the back of the trash cans. And that issue had never been raised with me during construction. The then president of the HOA reached out to me and asked what they should do about it. And I said, well, Leo will design something, and it's well after any warranty period. It's not my responsibility, but I'll pay for it. I did make that offer. We paid for the design. I believe Leo prepared the drawings to submit to HPC because it needed an HPC approval. And then at that point, the HOA stopped talking to me, and I never heard from them again on that issue.
Okay, very good. So you acknowledge that you did not pay for the construction of the trash enclosure, correct?
That was a long-winded answer, but yes, I acknowledge I did not pay for it.
Fair enough. I'm not in court, and I don't expect the judge to allow me to interrupt you and say that's a yes or no question. But
okay.
You allege that the discussions on the construction access agreement stopped because the unit owners insisted that you didn't have any development rights, but you don't remember insisting that the unit owners agree to not oppose this application individually during that process, and that being the reason that negotiations stopped?
No, that was not communicated to me in any way. What we asked for was initially, Phil, during the course of negotiation, had asked for a letter of support. And we dropped that request and instead said, if we're going to go through this process of reaching agreement with the owners, then we also don't want to go into the Planning Commission or to the Board of Appeals and then have the same unit owners who have signed the agreement oppose the construction. So yes, that was one of our proposed terms.
And that concluded in 2023, correct? That negotiation on the construction access agreement?
Well, I reached out to the owners through early 2024, but I didn't get any response.
All right. Do you deny threatening to sue individual unit owners?
Yes.
All right. You don't believe you've ever made that threat to any of the unit owners?
No,
No,
I'd also
I-
object to that question.
No, I'll answer it. So what happened was there's a new president of the HOA. And so I reached out to her and I said, I'd love to meet. We'd like to, renew negotiations for this agreement. And the response was, well, first of all, we don't think you have the right to build a unit. And I said, well, I believe I do. And I'm very confident of that. If I need to hire lawyers to prove it, I will. And the second question asked of me was, what's in it for us? And I don't know if that was a request for money, but my response to them was, well, first of all, you'd be honoring your contractual obligations that are in the declaration. And secondly, you won't be sued and you'll save in legal fees. And so the response I got to that was, oh, you're threatening to sue us? And I said, well, it's not really a threat, but if you continue to say that I don't have the right, I don't know what else I could do.
Do you know the face value of the bond that you posted for the St. Mary's Street grading permit that's still open?
I think it's $80,000 or $90,000.
Okay, is that a cash bond or is it a letter of credit?
I don't know what a cash bond is, but I'm not sure what that means. It's whatever the city requires is what I submitted, and I renewed it. I renew it every year with First Trust Bank.
Thank you. I don't have any further questions.
All right. Where are we, Mr. Dale?
I think the most expeditious thing I could do here would be to refrain from calling Mr. O'Hara and redirect, but ask to call Ms. Burke about some proposed conditions in the staff report so I can ask her several questions as a witness. There'll be 3 questions.
All right.
Ms. Burke, are you familiar with the 2 questions or conditions I referenced earlier, conditions number 10 and 14?
Yes.
And is it true that the city initially proposed requiring the applicant to obtain written consent from the unit owners who oppose this project in those conditions?
Yes.
And is the city supportive of revised conditions on those 2 requirements?
The city has, I was going to get to that when you got to me at the end, proposed to reword those 2 revisions. I don't know if you want to talk about that now or at the end.
No, you recognize the problem that's been raised, and yeah, okay. I think we'll talk about that as we deliberate if we get that far.
Mr. Gallagher, I just wanted to know what the city had proposed as revised conditions to know whether we could accept the ones the city is recommending as the city staff.
You want me to read them?
Yeah.
I have not seen them yet. That's why I asked.
Okay. So
this is 10 and 13?
10 and 14.
10 and 14.
Which basically will take, it shifts the responsibility of a lot of this to the Department of Planning and Zoning. Number 10 is the applicant shall submit to the Department of Planning and Zoning for its approval terms for the allowable hours of construction and the location and timing of construction-related parking. Said terms shall first be provided by the applicant to all owners of the property for their review and comment at least 30 days prior to submission to the department. The department shall only approve such terms upon considering the comments of the owners of the property so as to help mitigate adverse impacts during construction to the quiet enjoyment of the residential use. A map of any staging areas for construction must be provided to the residents of the property for at least the 30-day review and comment period before submitting a grading permit plan to the city. As such, any such staging areas shall be part of the grading permit plan, which shall be submitted to the Department of Public Works for its approval. And then condition 14, the applicant has proposed modifying an existing planter box to meet the stormwater management requirement of this project. Before final design of the modification, the applicant shall provide all owners of the property a 30-day review and comment period on the design, and a revised stormwater management maintenance agreement that reflects the final design must be approved prior to the issuance of the grading permit. If the department finds the modification to the planter box in its design or construction imposes adverse impacts on the property, The applicant must find an alternate location to meet this requirement.
I think that answers your question.
It does, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much, Ms. Burke. And if those conditions become relevant to your deliberation, I would just ask to be able to look at them in writing so we could look at them just briefly and be clear on what they say, if you choose to adopt them or recommend them.
All right. So are we at the point where questions? Well, let's have the public. How many people have signed up to testify? All right. Let's hear from you.
Mr. Ford is actually my witness. He's the board representative for the condo. I don't know if he counts as the public or not.
All right. Well, why don't you ask him these questions then?
Very good. Mr. Ford would. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. We'll just sit down. Anyway. All right. We'll share.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. Would you give your name and address for the record?
Yes, I am Jim Fort. I live at 99 Compromise Street, Unit 3.
And what's your position on the council board?
I'm the secretary treasurer of the board.
All right. Does the board have, and this is the council, let me try to call them the council. Does the council have concerns about the special exception application?
Yes.
Let me interrupt you. Mr. Ford?
Yes.
Do you affirm, subject to penalties, perjury, that the evidence you give tonight will be true to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Can you explain to the board here why you were asked by the council to speak tonight?
Well, we have some issues that we feel need to be addressed before this goes much farther. I've been asked by the board to be the board's representative. I have virtually no experience with Mr. O'Hara. I've met him once.
Why don't you give the board a summary of the main areas of your concern, if you would?
Well, the stormwater management system, which was supposed to be a green roof 5 years ago, has never been done. And we were actually in the process of beginning looking at how we would go about doing that, because it was something that the city required. And Mr. O'Hara had chosen not to do it. So we were heading down that path. Digging a hole in the front of our yard is kind of, it's our yard. And we're a little concerned that they can just come in and dig a hole in the yard and hook up a system. And once that system's in place, I was looking at the drawings. It looks like there's a series of filters and some other maintenance that's going to be required. That's going to fall on us. And it's just another thing that we're going to have to wind up managing and paying for. And so we're concerned about that. Who's going to be responsible for the maintenance and management of the green roof? If we look at the proposed plan, the only way you can get to it is through Unit 8. And so if it's a common area, how do we maintain that common area? Parking. Right now, we haven't seen anything that says this is what we want to use to work on this project. Where's the dumpster going to be? Where's materials going to be? The next piece of that is that Mr. O'Hara doesn't own any of the parking. So how's he going to park there? The construction management agreement that we had in place, or we're working on, seems to have what's the word I want? It hasn't been any movement in several years. I think the last time it was updated was actually 2022. The issues of liability related to this construction, how, who's going to be liable if somebody's hurt on our project, on our property, if somebody's car gets damaged because construction materials fell on top of the car. How long is this going to take? Access to the common areas. How is all of that going to work out? We just feel like nothing's been provided to us. We certainly haven't had a meeting where O2 has come to us as a group and said, here's what we plan to do. I've been there 2 years. I've never, nothing. So far, we've had, for lack of a better term, issues with trust. The stormwater management system has never been done. The trash area that we wound up paying for, the trees obviously weren't protected very well during construction because they died, and we had to pay to have those removed and replaced. As I said, we actually started the process to plan to put a green roof on because it wasn't happening, and there's a reserve study which had a list of items that needed to be completed. It's never been completed, and I think that kind of maybe lays out sort of where we feel we are right now.
Thank you. Mr. Lyman, do you have any more questions for Mr. Ford?
Nothing further. Thank you, Mr. Ford.
Okay. No cross, is that right?
Keep cross brief. Mr. Ford, do you have any professional knowledge about the maintenance necessary for a stormwater management device?
No.
Is it also true that there would be an additional unit that would contribute to the fees that are meant to take care of the common elements?
That's true.
And do you recognize that a stormwater management device would be a common element?
Yes.
Okay. And did Mr. O'Hare inform you, speaking of parking spaces, that he has ownership rights to 6 spaces, 6 of the parking spaces?
I've never heard that before, and I don't believe it.
To your knowledge, then?
Yes.
So,
can I add to that? That
yes, sir.
I would like Mr. O'Hare or you to show us a deed that he has that.
All right. Well, not tonight.
To your knowledge, did the board or the applicant inform you of the 6 meetings held with the board members to show the plans and to work towards the CAPA agreement Mr. O'Hare mentioned?
I know that the former owners of Unit 2 were very active in working on the construction agreement, but I have not had any experience with anything else.
To your knowledge, you're not aware of how many meetings there were held between the applicant and the owners regarding the proposed design or construction of the unit?
No.
Okay, thank you. Are you aware of any evidence that O2 is responsible for the trees that you referred to dying, the maple trees you referred to?
I can't swear to it, no, obviously.
Now, were you aware that, as Mr. O'Hare previously testified, that O2 had offered to help to pay for the construction and meet the requirements of the city on the trash enclosure area?
Yeah, yes, I do. I know that he did, and I know that he put rule. He had. It was not just I'll pay for it. It was I will do it if.
And would the concerns regarding construction staging, in your view, be addressed by the requirement the city would impose for the city to approve a construction agreement?
Yes.
Thank you. No more questions.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Ford.
Mr. Lyman, do you have any other witnesses?
No other witnesses.
All right, and the other member of the public who wanted to testify?
Yeah, thank you. Do you want them at the podium or?
Podium, please. Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Paul Davis. I'm here with Carla Christ, my partner, and we are here because...
What's your address?
Oh, I apologize. 5 St. Mary's Street, so we're immediately adjacent to the proposed structure.
And did you sign up to testify?
I actually did during the meeting, only because I didn't know that you had to sign up online to do so.
And you didn't submit any written comments?
No.
Okay, go ahead. Please make it as brief as you can.
Okay, absolutely. That's correct. And Mr. Ketterer submitted a written document in relation to all the legal arguments.
Right.
I guess today I'm here to speak from my heart more than to talk legally about it. We live adjacent to the property. Mr. O'Hare, who I know because I was also a trustee at Historic Annapolis, and so is my partner, Carla Christ, had promised us when this was all being done that we were going to have a green roof to look out at on a garage that was 10 foot high. If this construction goes ahead, instead of that beautiful green roof, we're going to be facing a brick wall, which is going to affect our views. It's going to air quality, shadows. We're not going to be able to see this downtown. We're not going to be able to see the water. I could go on and on. But had we known that this was going to be an issue, we would have opposed the building of the garage in the first place. Mr. O'Hare came to us and basically said, hey, are you opposed to this garage if I put a green roof on it and you get to look out on this beautiful green roof? And myself and my neighbor, Dr. Chang, were perfectly fine with that. Then the next thing we know, that now we're going to have a condo there and we're going to be looking at a brick wall. I would like to just read an email that Mr. O'Hare sent to myself and Kathy Cherry, the architect from Purple Cherry. Dear Paul and Kathy, attached, please find a site plan and an elevation from Newman Street of our proposed covered parking. Generally, the concept is to cover the existing 12-space parking lot at the rec center next to Paul's with a structure that will be about 10 foot high with a flat green roof and a setback from Paul's property on the side and from 7 St. Mary's Street on the back. Another, the architect I worked with, Kathy Cherry, she met with Mr. O'Hare and she emails, we met with Jim O'Hare on the rec center this afternoon when he stopped by the office. We are pleased by the attached drawings which clearly indicate a green roof. This is what we were promised, and now we've got a brick wall to look at. I find that very disappointing, and if anybody wants to look at this, I'm more than happy to pass it around. But at the end of the day, based on the impact it's going to have on myself, my neighbors, and the people at the rec center, I really think this should not be seen as a minor site review, and this should be a full public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? All right. Have you signed up, sir?
Yes, sir. Oh, yeah. It so happens it was on my birthday, February the 25th, 2016. Thank you.
No, I did not.
All right. Come forward, please.
Bernard Chang. I live at 7 St. Mary Street. And the emails that Paul was talking about, I submitted to your group already. I emailed it, I believe, to, I forgot your name, I'm sorry. But I emailed that with the drawings last meeting. So I just want to reiterate what Paul said. And actually, I met with Jim O'Hare. He came to my house. We stood on my back patio, which faces the garage. And he said basically what Paul said, that there would be a green roof there. But he also said there was a silver oak tree, probably about, I don't know, maybe about 80 feet tall, something like that. And he said, you know, I would like to take this tree down. And it turned out it was on my property, not 99 Compromise. And he said, in exchange for this, we're going to give you this beautiful green roof with, you know, a view. So obviously that, I'm not sure about the permit on that tree, but I'm just going to bring that up. The only other comment I would like to make is, I think, as Jim brought up, you know, the purpose of the building was to update a historic structure. So, in my opinion, putting a structure on top of a parking lot that is not an existing historic structure doesn't, to me, it doesn't fit the bill. So, you know, just my comment on that.
All right.
That's about all I have to say.
Thank you, Dr. King.
Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Lyman? Mr. Dales?
We won't recall Mr. O'Hare. That's we're good.
All right. Questions from the board? Michael? Mike?
I'm sorry. If you could go to, in your page 4 of your analysis, on section F, no, I'm sorry, section E, on ingress and egress. As previously stated, this project does not increase the amount of parking spaces required. Why not?
Because with the original permit, they had enough parking spaces for 9 units.
So there are designated parking spaces for this additional.
There is adequate.
2 units, now 1 unit.
Yes.
I think we talked about this in the last meeting, so forgive me if you already addressed this in the page 3. Just before the compliance and special exception standards analysis you give, you talk about comprehensive plan's environmental sustainability goal. In your highlighted paragraph, the proposed project addresses these goals by integrating extensive green roof on 2 floors, or the planting palette is not provided for the green roof. To best meet this goal, planting should include multiple native species with high biodiversity value. I'm trusting that that'll be a part of the permitting process, that it'll be more specific as to what those plants are and where they'll be situated.
Yeah, this is actually Eric Lashinsky's comprehensive review comment, but the green roof will be reviewed by the Stormwater Management Department in Public Works. Yes.
Application, and in the the dialogue that the different statements made about what was in the original plan in 2016 and what is being proposed now by Mr. O'Hare, that the new green roof, is this what we're talking about, that these will all go on this new green roof that I saw in Mr. Wilson's plans?
So there was an original green roof, and then this revision
lot.
includes a green roof.
Right.
Still includes a green roof.
But not the same size. I mean,
Not
I
the
saw something
same
different up
size.
there.
Well, they
Yeah.
said it's bigger and on 2 stories.
It'll be above Unit 8.
Yeah, it will
Correct.
be above the unit. So it's basically adding the story and then the green roof.
And then putting the green roof.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to know what you're referring to in that.
Yeah, and we put a condition that they don't that if you approve this, that there will be no use in occupancy given until the green roof is installed.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Dr. Chen?
Kim, with regard to condition B of the special exception, not injurious, we have testimony here from neighboring property that they feel that it will be injurious to them. Can you please address that?
As from the Planning and Zoning's department, it meets all the zoning setbacks and design requirements. So that is our, they're not asking for forgiveness for height or setbacks. So there is a legal limit that you can, build in without having to ask for forgiveness. So that is why we said that.
And the location of the stormwater mitigation unit, Mr. McCarthy, is your name?
I'm Mr. Lyman. That's Mr. McCarthy over there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He's the engineer. I'm a lawyer.
Mentioned that the location of this unit might be a problem. Can you address that?
Yeah, that is addressed in our one of the conditions that we rewrote, that the
14.
Yeah, in 14,
Okay.
we're going to send the plan to them for to the unit owners for their review, and then we will, if it's something that we can't come into agreement on, then there might have to be an alternate location for stormwater management.
Okay.
But that will be addressed at when it's applied for.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Mr. Hector? Mr. Ransom?
All right.
Let me ask you, Mr. Dales, how will the various interests of the existing owners be protected from damage during construction, and that may be caused during construction but may not appear for some time after that, and from liability that could arise from construction activity?
I'll begin and answer that question, and then ask Mr. O'Hare to finish the answer, since he'll know some of the details better than I do. First, I believe the conditions, as the recommended conditions as modified, set up the framework for the city to approve a solution to the first part of that problem. During the construction phase, the construction agreements, both for all of the common areas and the work generally, and then specifically for the stormwater management, set up the opportunity for the city to impose conditions above what's already required just by city code, building code, for responsible legal construction, and include reasonable suggestions from the unit owners and nearby neighbors that Mr. O'Hare may well voluntarily agree to. It's also bonded, and Mr. O'Hare has kept that bond paid for years and years. Mr. O'Hare also will be affected by all the impositions of the construction he's about to do. So some of those things might be the details you can provide, Jeremy.
So to answer your question directly, I'll have a builder's risk policy that includes a property damage component and a liability component. And in the draft agreement that we've negotiated to date with Mr. Lyman, I believe it includes a provision that the Council of Unit Owners, which is the whole body, would be named as additional insured. It does. I believe it's 1 year.
Thanks. How would the stormwater requirements be different than they were when the original special exception was issued, and in what way?
There was, and I don't remember the exact date, where the city started asking for 125% management.
Right.
I don't know what that date is off
Right.
the top of my head.
Right.
But if that is a requirement, then that would be a comment from Public Works when they came in for the grading permit.
And because of the site conditions, I assume that would end up being addressed by a fee in lieu.
They don't really do fee in lieu for stormwater. I mean,
No?
they pretty much
You gotta
make you do it.
find a way to do it.
Sometimes they'll give you a waiver to the extra 25%, but I've never really heard of it. I mean, it's not my department, but haven't really heard of a fee in lieu for that. But some people do submit it's mainly in Eastport when you have the teeny tiny lots where people can't make the 125%, they give a waiver to only do the 100 for new development.
I think that's all I have.
Mr. Chairman, just one quick question. I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure that I'm clear on this, Kim. You do incorporate, I just want to make sure clear for the record, you're incorporating the letter of May 9th from Drum Loika for addressing those corrections or that the developer will agree to pay for the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 conditions that were noted by the Department of Public Safety.
Yeah, I wanted to clarify that because I know there was discussion about that. So that letter is a condition because I verified with Public Works before it came to the hearing that none of those items were addressed but the tightening of the grates as far as they were concerned. Now, whether they were or not, that will have to be worked out.
But from an enforceability provision, that's incorporated in your staff recommendations
Mhm.
as a condition.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, with that, I don't feel like we need any closing argument. Does anyone feel like they have to say something more?
I don't, but I'd reserve rebuttal if Mr. Lyman has closing.
I'd just like to reiterate and highlight for the board what is specifically enforceable as to a property interest.
Yeah, I think we're clear.
Thank you.
All right.
I don't need much rebuttal on that. I would just say that some of the concerns of the unit owners are that there are things that we can respect, and we can also disagree and think some of them might be exaggerated. But we have remained willing to work with them, listen, and try to include some of their concerns voluntarily and the requirements that the city ultimately would end up governing. So I just hope this is a really good infill project, the adaptive reuse, and we've been going after this for many, many years. And I think we'd like to address those concerns of the unit owners and neighbors and also move forward with a great project. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything to close, Kim?
No, sir.
Okay. Are we ready to deliberate?
So the record's closed.
Record's closed. We'll mark the exhibits, including this nice new book. If you don't mind, Michael, I'll give you a break and I'll start on this. This is complicated, as I think I said before. I'm comfortable on the standing now for a number of reasons. The deference point, I give that some weight. We have to give some weight to the director's judgment, the opinion of Office of Law, the advice from our own counsel, and even thinking back to my law school days on specific enforcement, I think that's the favored a favored remedy in real estate contract disputes, I recall. But I do have a number of concerns that I think I think generally they've convinced us, as they did the first time around, that they meet the standards. But I do have a number of concerns that I think we should consider dealing with. And I appreciate Kim's effort to address the conflict issues. I think that's a good way to do it. I think I would suggest that we use a mechanism like that to give the owners an opportunity to comment on the adequacy of their protection, liability, and damages, and let the director ultimately decide what the condition would be. And because of the delays, for obvious reasons, in getting that green roof done, I think I would like to see a condition that there's no occupancy until all of the conditions of the exemption are complied with. There's no occupancy.
I think every one of my conditions says at the end, no use in occupancy until this is satisfied.
And finally, I'd like to see our standard enforcement condition. All right, any other discussion? Anyone remember enough of that to make a motion?
I just want to say really quickly that I think from what I've heard over the two meetings, it's been a combination of frustration. You have a declaration, which, is a contract that has to be adhered to, and the board recognizes that these elements are in play. I just wanted to
Let me just
make that
mention
comment.
for the benefit of the owners who are here, the enforcement condition that I referred to, from time to time we hear people complain that conditions and special exceptions are not complied with, and complaints to the city seem to be not adequately addressed. So the condition that we will include in this exemption will say that if any of you believe that they have failed to comply with a condition of the special exception, you file a notice with the Office of Planning. The Office of Planning and Zoning will have 30 days to decide whether or not they think the condition has been violated and what needs to be done about it. If they say it's not been violated, or you think what they've ordered remedy is inadequate, then you can appeal back to this. So we tried to create a mechanism to improve that enforcement problem. I also would say, for the benefit of the people on St. Mary Street, I appreciate that you thought you were going to have this nice green roof, and now it's going to be a wall. I mean, it's not right up against your property. I don't think the only reason we would have to fail to grant the special exception is if we felt that it interfered with light and air circulation. And certainly it does to some extent. But the city has made a good effort to mitigate that by reducing it from 3 floors to 2. And I don't think we can improve on that. So, did I give you enough time to come up with your motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I move for approval of special exception 2024-00010 based on the staff report and the testimony given over this meeting and the last meeting, and that we will, planning and zoning will include the conditions of enforcement, as well as those listed in the staff report, as well as others discussed during these meetings.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Oh, I forgot one other condition, that Mr. Lyman and Mr. O'Hare should go out and have a beer after the meeting.
Great.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you all.
Members.
Thank you for your patience.
I move that we adjourn.
All right, any other business? So we probably won't need a mid-month meeting.
Yeah, I think there's a virtual meeting mid-month, and then we're going to have some things for October if
Well,
there's.
I thought a possible continuance of this was all we had for mid-month.
No, we have special exception for 144 Dock
for-
Street.
For Mission Barbecue.
Yes.
All right. That shouldn't take too long, should it?
I hope not.
Is there a motion?
I move to adjourn.
Is there a second,
Second.
Mr. Ramsden? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.